Thank you very much. Secretary of Defense, you've spoken about trying to force both Putin and Zelensky to the table. Can you give a guarantee that no deal will be forced on Ukraine that they do not want to accept, and also that you will include Europe in the negotiations?
What?
And also that you will include Europe in the negotiations about an issue that concerns European security?
No.
And can you tell us whether the US will continue to supply arms to Ukraine during any negotiations?
Well, to the first part of your question, that's not ultimately my decision. The President will lead these negotiations alongside our Secretary of State, our National Security Advisor, and numerous other officials that will be involved. And ultimately, we've played our role in talking to our NATO allies about what that would look like. President Trump, I want to point out, I've got the truths right here that he posted, called both, in case we missed it, Vladimir Putin and President Zelensky. Called them both. Any negotiation that's had will be had with both. I also am very encouraged by what the Secretary General has said here. Clearly attuned to the realities of the moment, the need for peace, and that the NATO alliance and European members will play a role in that. Ultimately, President Trump speaking to those two countries is central to the deal being made, but it affects a lot of people, of course. So I'm not going to be involved in those intimate diplomatic negotiations. That's for the pros atop the Trump administration who do diplomacy and negotiations. Ultimately, as security assistance, we have continued to provide what has been allocated. I think it would be fair to say that things like future funding, either less or more, could be on the table in negotiations as well. Whatever the President determines is the most robust carrot or stick on either side to induce a durable peace, understanding, obviously, the motivations that Vladimir Putin has had on Ukraine for quite some time. Thank you.
Now, let's put that through our Adeptus Mechanicus certified political translator.
Cogitating.
No, we will not send more weapons to Ukraine because, 1. If we keep sending weapons to Ukraine, Putin will not negotiate and more people will die. 2. Zelensky is Biden's vassal, not President Trump's. And 3. Most importantly, we will not keep throwing money and weapons into a war that's already lost and does nothing to further the interests of the United States. Full stop.
We'll have a second international press outlet. We'll go with the German paper Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung with Dr. Thomas Kuczka.
Thanks a lot, Thomas Kuczka, Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. Good afternoon. Mr. Secretary, 2 questions, please. The first one regarding the new defense investment pledge. When you and President Trump speak about raising it to 5%, do you mean European allies only, or do you mean the US as well, which is currently at 3.4%, according to NATO statistics? And if the latter is true, when do you think the US could possibly reach the goal of spending 5% on defense? That's number one. Number 2.
And that's exactly the kind of question that a Brussels-bred jerk would ask. Now, I'm going to let Secretary Hegseth answer his question diplomatically, then I'm going to answer it undiplomatically.
You've said yesterday that Europeans need to take ownership of their own conventional security. So, should Europeans expect that ultimately the US would withdraw the bulk of their forces from Europe and just leave in place what is necessary for nuclear deterrence? I know there's a revision going on. I don't expect you to name any numbers, but maybe give us an outlook of what we should expect. Thank you.
Thank you. I think nobody can or should contest the extent of America's willingness to invest in national security. We have a budget of $850 billion spent on defense.
Now, my comrade from der Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung, maybe next time you want to ask the Secretary of Defense a stupid question, it would behoove you to do your homework on some matters like What percent of GDP does Germany spend on defense? Don't worry, I'll tell you. Germany spends 1.5% of GDP on defense, which is $66.8 billion.
Ooh, that's kind of small. Yikes.
Now, in case we missed it, how much is the United States spending on defense?
We have a budget of $850 billion spent on defense.
What?
$850 billion spent on defense.
Uh-huh. And you got the gall to try to manufacture a gotcha moment with Secretary Hegseth, insinuating that America isn't spending enough on defense?
Pathetic.
Kiddo, to answer your question, allow me to use a quote from the man whose shriveled up eggplant has been energetically serviced by the entire Western European media for the last 4 years. Former White House resident Joe Biden.
Pay your fair share. Pay your fair share. Pay your fair share.
And that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so.